My sister begged to be intimate with my husband. I said yes. Full story. They say be careful what you wish for, but they never tell you to be careful what you agree to. I handed my husband over to my sister on a silver platter. I thought I was being a savior. I thought I was in control. But by the time I realized I'd just signed the death warrant on my marriage, the bedroom door was already closed. Here is what happened on the other side.
Hey, store lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
To understand why I, Olivia Taylor, a rational woman with a law degree and a terrifyingly organized calendar, would agree to such madness, you have to understand the desperation that had settled over our lives like a thick, suffocating fog. It wasn't a sudden snap judgment. It was the culmination of 3 months of calculated pressure that I failed to recognize as a siege. My husband, Ryan Lewis, was the golden boy of our community. Charming, successful in real estate, and devastatingly handsome. My sister, Emma Moore, was the opposite. She was the fragile glass doll of the family, always one bad day away from shattering. It started on a Tuesday, the kind of rainy November evening that makes you want to lock the doors and forget the world exists. Emma had shown up at our doorstep, her mascara running, trembling like a leaf. She sat at our kitchen island, gripping a mug of tea with white knuckles, and dropped the bomb. She told us her husband, a man she'd only been with for a year, was sterile. That wasn't the shocker. The shocker was the lie she wrapped around it, a lie so elaborate and gritty that I swallowed it whole. She claimed her late father-in-law's estate, a fortune worth millions, had a stipulation. The trust fund would only release to a blood heir of her husband's line, or, in the event of medical impossibility, a child conceived naturally within the family circle to preserve the lineage's privacy. It sounded archaic, medieval even, but Emma had the paperwork. Or at least she had papers that looked like legal documents. "I need a donor," she had whispered, not looking at me, but looking straight at Ryan. "But not a bank. I can't do a bank. The lawyer said it has to be familial to challenge the clause. I need family." The implication hung in the air, toxic and heavy. She didn't want a cup of sugar. She wanted Ryan. For weeks, I fought it. I raged. I told Ryan it was insanity, but Ryan played his part beautifully. He acted the reluctant martyr. He told me he felt sick at the thought, that he only had eyes for me, but he also reminded me of our own deaths. Ryan's latest development project was underwater. We were drowning financially, maintaining a facade of wealth while the bank accounts bled dry. Emma had promised us a cut of the inheritance, $500,000, enough to save us, enough to save Ryan's reputation. The manipulation was a masterclass. Emma played on my guilt. I was the strong sister, the one who had everything. She was the broken one. Ryan played on my fear of bankruptcy, fear of failure. They pincered me between empathy and survival. So the night came, the night I said yes. I remember the texture of the contract I made them sign. I had drafted it myself, trying to legalize a moral crime. No kissing, no emotional intimacy, strictly procreation, one night only. I thought ink on paper could restrain human desire. I was a fool. The atmosphere in the house that evening was not charged with romance. It was heavy with a sickening clinical dread. I had prepared the guest room, fresh sheets, low light. It felt like I was preparing an operating theater. Ryan kissed me on the forehead before he went in, a kiss that felt like a goodbye, though I didn't know it then. "For us," he had said, "we get the money, we get out of debt, we forget this ever happened." I went downstairs and turned up the television volume until the walls shook, trying to drown out the silence from the floor above. I sat there for 45 minutes, staring at a blank phone screen, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Every minute was an hour. My imagination was a torture chamber. I wasn't just a wife letting her husband sleep with another woman. I was a sister watching the only boundary that mattered dissolve into dust. When Ryan came downstairs, he didn't look at me. He went straight to the liquor cabinet and poured a scotch, his hands shaking. Emma left 10 minutes later, slipping out the back door without a word. I thought the worst part was over. I thought we had survived the transaction. But the morning after is when the real horror story began. You expect the betrayal to be the act itself, but the betrayal is in the details that follow. It was the way Ryan stopped leaving his phone on the table. It was the way Emma stopped calling me to cry and started calling me to check in, her voice light, airy, almost singing. 2 weeks later, we were at a family barbecue. I was watching them. I saw Ryan hand Emma a drink. Their fingers brushed. It wasn't a clumsy handoff. It was a caress, a spark of electricity that you can't fake, and you certainly can't hide from a wife who is looking for it. Emma looked up at him, and her eyes didn't hold the gratitude of a sister-in-law. They held the possession of a lover. My stomach dropped. The narrative I'd been fed, the desperate sister, the reluctant husband, the inheritance, began to crack. I became obsessive. I needed to know if that night was truly the clinical transaction they promised, or if I had opened a door that had been unlocked for a long time. I started digging. I checked the phone records. Nothing. They were too smart for that. But Ryan had a weakness. His car. He treated his sedan like a second office. One Tuesday, while Ryan was in the shower, I took his keys. I went out to the garage and tore that car apart. Under the passenger seat, tucked inside the lining where the carpet meets the console, I found a receipt. It was for a hotel in the city, a date from 3 months ago. 3 months ago? Long before the inheritance crisis, long before Emma begged me for the favor. My blood ran cold. The receipt wasn't the smoking gun, though. The smoking gun was what I found in the trunk, buried in his gym bag. A burner phone. I took it inside, my hands trembling so hard I almost dropped it. I guessed the passcode on the third try. It was Emma's birthday. The messages flooded in, a digital testament to my stupidity. She's buying it. She actually feels sorry for me. Emma. Just keep the pressure on the money. She'll cave. She's too proud to let us go bankrupt. Ryan. I can't wait until we don't have to hide. Once I'm pregnant, we have her. She sanctioned it. She can't claim adultery if she signed a permission slip. Emma. The world tilted on its axis. There was no inheritance clause. There was no sterile husband. Emma's husband, George, had left him 6 months ago, a fact she'd successfully hidden from the family. The entire medical necessity was a fabrication, a cruel, twisted theater designed to do exactly what they said in the text, legitimize their affair. They wanted to be together. They wanted a child, but they didn't want the scandal of an affair destroying Ryan's reputation or his assets in a divorce. They needed me to give them permission to conceive so that when the baby came, I would assume it was the result of the arrangement. They were going to raise Ryan's illegitimate child right under my nose with my blessing while they waited for the right moment to discard me and keep the assets. I sat on the bathroom floor, the cold tile against my legs, and I didn't cry. The time for tears had passed. A cold, hard rage settled in my chest, replacing the anxiety. They thought they were playing chess, but I had forgotten that I was the one who taught them the game. I put the phone back. I didn't confront them yet. If I screamed now, I looked like the jealous, crazy wife. I needed to be the architect of their ruin. I played the part of the oblivious, supportive wife for another 4 weeks. It was the hardest acting role of my life. I listened to Emma talk about her symptoms. I watched Ryan pretend to be anxious about the results. All the while, I was moving assets. I was meeting with a forensic accountant named David Jones, a man who could find a penny in a haystack. We found where the money was going. Ryan hadn't just been cheating with his body. He had been siphoning funds from our joint accounts into a shell company under Emma's maiden name. They were building a nest egg for their new life, funded by my hard work. Then came the day of the pregnancy test. Emma came over, feigning nervousness. She went into the bathroom. She came out holding the stick, tears in her eyes. "It worked," she whispered. "Olivia, it worked." Ryan let out a breath he'd been holding, a performance of relief that deserved an Oscar. He hugged her. I smiled. "That's wonderful," I said. "Truly. We should celebrate. Dinner tonight. My treat." They agreed, thinking they had won, thinking that I was the lamb. That night at the dinner table, the air was festive. I poured the wine, I toasted to family, I toasted to the new baby, and then I set my phone on the table. "I have a surprise too," I said, my voice steady. I slid a manila envelope across the table to Ryan. He opened it, smiling, expecting perhaps a check or a baby gift. His smile died instantly. It wasn't a gift. It was a lawsuit and an eviction notice and a printout of every single text message from the burner phone. "I know," I said. "I know about the hotel. I know about the fake inheritance. I know about the shell company. And I know that the baby isn't a miracle of modern science. It's just the byproduct of two people who thought they were smarter than they are." The color drained from Emma's face. She looked at Ryan, but he couldn't help her. He was staring at the forensic accounting of the stolen funds. "You see," I continued, leaning in, "you thought the agreement I signed was a permission slip, but you didn't read the fine print of the assets transfer I had you sign last week for the debt consolidation. You signed over the rights to the shell company. You signed over the house. You signed over everything." "You can't do that," Ryan stammered. "You can't do that," Ryan stammered, his voice cracking. "I can," I said, "because I'm the wife who said yes. I gave you exactly what you wanted. You have each other, you have the baby. That's it. That's all you get. The money, the house, the reputation, that's mine." Emma started to cry, real tears this time, ugly and desperate. "Olivia, please, we're sisters." "No," I said, standing up and picking up my purse. "Sisters don't beg to sleep with their sister's husband. Sisters don't plot to steal a life. You wanted him, you got him. I hope he's worth being homeless for." I walked out of the restaurant, leaving them with the check and the ruins of their grand plan. The aftermath was brutal. The divorce was swift and cutthroat. I didn't spare them. I used the evidence of the embezzlement to ensure Ryan left with nothing but his clothes. Emma's pregnancy became the scandal of the town, not the miracle she wanted. They turned on each other, as rats do when the ship sinks. Without the money, their romance curdled. Last I heard, Ryan was sleeping on a friend's couch, and Emma was moving back in with our parents, alone. People ask me if I regret saying yes, if I regret opening that door. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I wonder. But then I look at my life now, free of the debt, free of the lies, free of the two people who were dragging me down, and I realize something. Saying yes didn't destroy me. It liberated me. It forced the poison to the surface so I could finally cut it out. They wanted to break me. Instead, they forged me into something unbreakable. So if anyone ever asks you for the unthinkable, if they beg you to cross a line that screams danger, listen to the silence that follows, because in that silence, the truth is waiting. And sometimes, the only way to win the game is to let them think they've already won, right up until the moment you checkmate them.